Shadow people, a phenomena witnessed around the world. They are seen in cases of sleep paralysis, sleep deprivation, and in locations that are plagued with demonic activity. Of course, it doesn't end there. Substances such as Dph, Datura, meth, and many others seem to leave users with shadow people hallucinations. There are even rituals online with the intent of summoning a shadow person. The Hat Man is a shadow entity phenomena. His presence is said to be menacing, but there are those who seek him, pray to him, and worship him. He's believed to live in a realm called Eiriel, and there are those who believe they found a way to alter their own spirit so that when they die, they go to Eiriel, where they will live as a shadow person.
Created first and foremost to please and appease Hat Man, which is the almighty Shadow Lord of Eiriel and most other delirium drugs.
So where did this all begin? This emerging dark religion of worshipping the Hat Man? Well, we all know about the social media craze that took over TikTok. Many young teens died partaking in that disturbing trend, and unfortunately it sometimes trends again. But as horrific as that is, it's only the tip of the iceberg. To some, this is a lifestyle, a faith, where Hat Man is the Lord. This video will get increasingly disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. Let's start at the entrance to the rabbit hole.
Who have been rightfully chosen by Hat Man, which is, the Lord.
Who is the Hat Man? The Hat Man is a well-documented phenomena. He's a shadow person entity seen wearing a fedora-styled hat, a trench coat, and sometimes has red eyes. As mentioned, he's seen during cases of sleep paralysis and places with reported paranormal activity. I've had my own encounter with the Hat Man as a child, and no, I wasn't on any substance. I've told that story before in a now deleted video. If you want to see that video, it's on Patreon. Link is down below in the description. But the Hat Man is consistently experienced on substances, mostly deliriants. Deliriants are a subclass of hallucinogen that induce delirium, where hallucinations are so lifelike that you cannot distinguish them from reality. Some experience full-blown conversations with friends and relatives only to find that it was simply a hallucination amongst other bizarre things. Deliriants seem to have some special connection to shadow people, spiders, and the Hat Man. The Hat Man is even reported by users of Datura, which of course is a deliriant. Why people hallucinate the Hat Man is unclear. Some speculate that he's an archetype of evil, and a trench coat and a hat is what we imagine when we think of someone sketchy. Others think the popularity of Hat Man being a meme is what makes people think of him and therefore hallucinate him. I personally don't think this is the case, as the Hat Man has been reported as far back as the 1970s. In fact, at the end of this video, I'll tell you a story of a former Dallas cowboy who told me, without even knowing who I am, a story where he witnessed the Hat Man as a child. Because the Hat Man is witnessed so often on deliriants, naturally people have formed ideas and beliefs that maybe the Hat Man isn't just a hallucination. Maybe there's something more to this, something real. At the core of this worship lies deliriants, the most popular being diphenhydramine, or Dph for short. Of course, being the active ingredient in Benadryl. But as I mentioned, deliriants such as Datura also have cases of this phenomena. Now, because deliriant hallucinations often involve shadow people, there are some who believe that deliriants can alter your spirit so that you become a shadow person when you die. Some believe using deliriants pleases the Hat Man and is a way to give your soul to the Hat Man. God has heaven, the devil has hell. The Hat Man is believed to have Eiriel. Let's take a closer look at Eiriel. Psychedelics have hyperspace, dissociatives have holes, deliriants have Eiriel. Eiriel is the darkest trip one can experience without actually dying. The term was coined in 2010 by a 420chan user known as Cedric Lightberry. He has two infamous trip reports, but the first trip report is where the term Eiriel was born. I won't mention any measurements here on YouTube, but it was an extremely high amount of Dph when Cedric says he encountered the Hat Man. The Hat Man said, "Hello, Cedric," which led Cedric to think he was going to die. He asked the Hat Man if he's going to die, and the Hat Man said, "Nothing." A long pause occurred, and simply said, "Don't go to Eiriel," before disappearing. Cedric felt this was important, so he spends the rest of the trip muttering these words to himself, trying to not forget them. Cedric would post one more trip report and then disappear off the internet completely. His whereabouts are unknown. Some do find it strange that the Hat Man said don't go to Eiriel, and now there's a whole lore about wanting to go there, but I guess curiosity kills the cat. Whether that story is a true trip report or just fabricated by Cedric is irrelevant. The point is, it's where the word Eiriel originated, and it's still used today as a way to categorize the darkest delirium you can experience. Eiriel is categorized as a complete disconnect from reality. It's flooded with spiders, gnats, and other insects, melting and morphing items, dead relatives, and sad depictions of violent imagery. Shadow people are everywhere, the auditory hallucinations are unbearable, and a deep feeling of dread is reported. And of course, those who have lived to tell the tale say that the Hat Man is always present there. Now I want to point out an eerie hallucination, where users smoke a cigarette. Many report it being the very best cigarette of their life, only to find out that it was a hallucination called phantom cigarettes. As strange and random as this hallucination is, it's extremely common on Dph and Datura. Now that you know that deliriants induce delirium and that the scariest version of delirium is Eiriel, let's dive into the man who created a subreddit whose sole purpose is to please and appease the Hat Man. FaCastello is a man who calls himself the Dph Master. He says that the Hat Man has appointed him with the knowledge to impart amongst people, and he does have a cult-like following. He created a subreddit called r/ILoveDph, where he says the whole purpose of it is to please and appease the Hat Man. You can find very bizarre things there, such as poems people write for the Hat Man and the prayers that people pray to him. It also has a medley of memes and dark humor weaved into it, and other things that I can't mention on YouTube. Now there are some who claim that FaCastello is just a persona, and that he is a satire act, just pretending to be some kind of a cult leader. Satire or not, there are people who subscribe to his thinking. I've personally talked to a few members myself, and they are Hat Man fanatics. One member mentioned that he wanted to imprint the Hat Man onto his skin via scarification. He also shared messages with me between him and another member of the subreddit. His friend expressed that he believes that there might be some connection between the Hat Man and the Holy Trinity, due to some reports of the Hat Man being seen with two shadow people by his side. This member also expressed an interest in Shadowmancy, which is a type of magic that involves control over shadows, the ultimate goal being to become a shadow. The practitioners of this magic offer their soul and their body to become one with shadows. Practitioners learn many dark aspects, such as moving pain from one part of their body to another, a skill sometimes used for healing. Evocation, which is the ability to call a spirit's presence to harness their power and communicate with them, and might even dabble in necromancy, which is the ability to reanimate a corpse and manipulate them. FaCastello has another even more secret subreddit called r/Dph Lovers Secret Club, and no one has any information about what's inside of that club. The initiation, though, is disturbing. FaCastello claims that you have to take Dph and ask the Hat Man yourself if you can join the club, and claims that the Hat Man will decide if you're worthy or not.
Who have been rightfully chosen by Hat Man, which is, the Lord. Don't ask me. Don't ask me access into the secret club because, the Lord will choose you if you are eligible.
Now again, if anyone has any information on the club or if you're in the club, email me. It's down below in the description. Someone emailed me something interesting. Apparently, FaCastello has his own Bible, filled with Hat Man worship prayers, poems, and some very demented content, and I finally read it for myself. The supposed Hat Man Bible is called Twisted Tales of Delirium, Volume 1. Even though it was sent to me as a Bible, it really reads like a diary, meshed with memes and random prayers and poems for the Hat Man. I can't speak about most of the contents, as it includes material that is extremely graphic and disturbing. He speaks thoroughly about his very violent, intrusive thoughts. It's strange to read because he writes it in a cutesy language such as this example here. Welcome, Dph friends. This way of writing is consistent throughout the entire book. He calls the Hat Man his eternal father, and constantly tells you to praise the Hat Man, or as he calls him, the Lord. There's a lot of Hat Man worship in this book, obviously. Mostly claiming that we are the Hat Man's children. On top of this, he speaks about wanting to spend eternity in Eiriel with his friends. And like I said, this might be a satire act, but at the same time, he does have followers who are very serious about these beliefs. It's not fair to say that everyone who's on that subreddit believes what he believes. Maybe they're just there because they find him entertaining. These beliefs have been emerging on the internet for a couple years now. This Reddit user said, I personally think Dph is a substance that alters our soul, and slowly transforms us into shadow people. And the shadow people you see on your trips are projections of all the people throughout the past and future, who've completed the metamorphosis. This was posted 4 years ago. There's still a lot of ground to cover. Let me know if you want to see a deeper dive into any of the discussed topics in today's video, as this video was really just meant to introduce the strange concept of Hat Man/shadow people worship. But for now, as promised, here is the story of the former Dallas Cowboy who told me his Hat Man encounter. So, I used to work at a dealership, and the new manager was hired named Jermaine Brooks. I knew he played football, professional football, was a former Cowboy, and he was a cool guy. I just met him for the first time. While we were having a meeting, someone mentioned to him that I am famous. No, I'm kidding, I'm not famous. But, that I make videos on YouTube. And he asked me what kind of videos I make, and I said, spooky content. And he tells me that he's seen many apparitions in his life. But he doesn't really speak about it because people just assume he's lying or he's crazy. I asked him if there are any notable events or apparitions that kind of stood out to him, and he said that when he was 9 years old, he lived with his grandmother, and in the kitchen, he would hear strange noises and overall just get a strange feeling about the kitchen. One day, standing right in front of the kitchen window was a tall man, and he said that he had a see-through quality to him, sort of shadow-like. But what stood out to him was that this shadow spirit entity was wearing a hat and a trench coat. This was the first time I met him, and I had a jacket on, and I take it off immediately, and I show him my tattoo because for those who don't know, I have a Hat Man tattoo. And he looked at my tattoo and he said, yeah, it actually looked just like that. The year would have been 1988. So this phenomena has been happening for a long time, which is why I don't buy into the idea that people only see him because he's a meme. He became a meme because people saw him. That's a little more accurate to me. But anyway, consider becoming a Patreon. I'm still working on more perks and big updates are coming soon. And as always, I will see you in the next one.